From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. BC Conservative leader John Rustad says he expects Premier David Eby is just creating an image of doing something while never actually doing it. The criticism comes ahead of tomorrow's debut of Eby's newly configured post-election cabinet. Rustad says he and his large cabinet are preparing to battle the governing NDP on issues of natural resources, education, public safety, housing, and the economy. Justin Trudeau says the talks at the APEC summit in Peru have been dominated by worries about how to navigate the return of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump to the White House. Canadian press reporter Lisa Laporte says the Prime Minister offered some simple advice.
Trudeau says discussions have centered on how to continue trade with an incoming president who's promised sweeping tariffs on all U.S. imports. He's one of the few world leaders who was in power during Trump's first administration and says his message to his colleagues is to emphasize the win-wins of trade deals.
Canada, the U.S., and Mexico have to review a trade deal in 2026 that was struck in 2018 after Trump ended the North American Free Trade Agreement. Donald Trump, meantime, attended the UFC Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden in New York. The president-elect was joined by Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr. During his interview after the final match, where John Jones defeated Stipe Miocic, Jones acknowledged Trump in the crowd.
I also want to say a big thank you to President Donald Trump for being here tonight.
Trump walked out to a rousing ovation just before the start of the pay-per-view event and seemed to bask in the thrill of the fighters that throughout the night gave him props. Sask Power says construction of the new Bécancour wind energy facility north of Moose Mountain Provincial Park is now complete. It's owned and operated by a limited partnership between Green Investments and a partnership that's a wholly owned entity of the Cowessess First Nation. Sask Power says it will purchase power generated at the facility through a 25-year agreement. At 200 megawatts, it says the facility can generate the equivalent of power needed for up to 100,000 homes. And a Florida cruise company is offering deep-pocketed Americans upset by the results of the U.S. presidential election a 4-year escape to travel the world during the incoming administration. CEO for Villa Vie Residence, Mikael Peterson, says they'd been planning to launch the tour regardless of who won.
Just the timing is with the election, and it just happened that Trump won, and there's more Democrats that are unhappy about living in the U.S. now than Republicans.
If you're interested, prices start around $40,000 per person per year for the 4-year option. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, we start in the NHL, where the Vancouver Canucks earned a 4-1 victory over the Chicago Blackhawks. Eric Brandstrom's goal early in the third period stood up as the winner. Mitch Marner scored 40 seconds into overtime as the Toronto Maple Leafs downed the Edmonton Oilers 4-3. The Florida Panthers blanked the NHL-leading Winnipeg Jets 5-0. The Montreal Canadiens beat Columbus 5-1. And Spencer Martin recorded his first career shutout as the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Ottawa Senators 4-0. Over to the NBA, where the Toronto Raptors continue to have bad luck. The Boston Celtics dropped a buzzer-beating three-pointer to top the Raps 126-123 in overtime. And finally, Savannah Gruel is the top Canadian at the LPGA Tour's regular season finale, the Annika. She shot a 66 on Saturday to sit 9 strokes back of the third-round leader, Charlie Hull. Gruel needs a solid showing to clinch a tour card for next year. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.